There was a time, not that long ago, in fact, that a 4-putt double bogey on the opening hole could have sent Jon Rahm's entire tournament off the rails. This week, it led him to his first green jacket, putting together a strong, steady, complete performance.
Yes.
Turning a 2-shot deficit into a 4-stroke victory to win the Masters and win you some money.
Yeah, that was pretty nice.
Congratulations.
Riding with
Jesse.
Rahm, baby. Am I an expert? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Welcome to the show, everybody. Happy
Yeah.
half-off Easter Candy Day to all those who celebrate. I'm Emerson Sanchez. She's Jesse Cofield. The show is called The Sweat. It is presented by DraftKings.
Yes, lots to get to. Not a lot of time to get to it. NBA playoff futures with the play-in tournament tipping off tomorrow. Very exciting. MLB picks and what to bet on a loaded 10-game NHL slate that has a lot of playoff implications itself.
Yeah, but first, let's go ahead. Let's start at Augusta National here, guys. Before we get into pin placement, for an elevated RBC heritage this week, we saw some outstanding play at Augusta National over the weekend. Some horrific weather as well, Jeff Ulrich. What impressed you the most about Jon Rahm slipping on his first green jacket?
Just his ability to grind down the field, really, in what was, basically open championship conditions, a course that was probably playing 200 yards longer than normal because of the wind and the rain. I mean, I think in a lot of ways it really did set up as an ideal spot for Jon Rahm from the perspective of the course played longer than it has. And I think that with the changes that Augusta National we've seen over the last few years, I think it's playing more into the hands of bombers. So Jon Rahm, already an alpha, already a player who has come into his own, has developed a better all-around game, and obviously just had a hot start to the season. I think it was just kind of the perfect storm of things of the field. Everyone else was affected by it. Some guys just couldn't get the length on it anymore in the par fives and the longer par fours. Some players were just beaten down mentally by it. Jon Rahm had kind of had everything going coming in, and I feel like, with the conditions, it actually did play into his favor. So Rahm just being able to grind down another long hitter in Koepka was super impressive, and I'm not really shocked that he came through in that spot after it was kind of mano-a-mano after Friday.
Dude, he predicted that he would win the Masters 10 years ago from a Panda Express fortune cookie. Colin, you had some good fortune betting Rahm as well. He was on your betting card. Did he just prove that he's the biggest force in the game right now?
Absolutely. I think with Rory, just not playing real well right now. Ever since he said shoot the scores, he has not been shooting the scores. And so I think there is no question right now that Rahm is the number one player in the world. I'm very interested to see how he does at the RBC Heritage. This is a course that is not very long, and then he can just sort of like bomb and go off. But we could be looking at one guy winning 4 of the first, 8 elevated events in the history of the PGA Tour. That is absurd. He's got all the shots. He's got the distance of some of the longest hitters in the game. But what really impressed me is he bails right on 11, and then he's still able to get up and down because his touch is so good. He reads putts extremely well. His line, sometimes he's off with the putt or the length, but his line is fantastic. He's got all the shots. It's just, there is no flaw in his game. He is as complete a golfer as there is in the world, and just with all of that raw talent. And you can't help but root for the guy. I mean, he's a fun player to back. Going into it, I had him, and when he's down 4 early on in the third round, I felt totally confident that he was going to be able to come back and make that run.
Yeah,
So,
Colin, you mentioned Rory. What was the biggest factor in some of those big name guys missing out on the weekend? Rory, Justin Thomas, who's clearly going in the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, JT lost it there on the last hole. Not great. So I don't know if it was the conditions. You wanted, obviously, the late Thursday and the early Friday tee time. That was a massive advantage this week just because of the way the weather set up. So I think the guys that, had that late Thursday, early Friday definitely had a huge edge on the field. It's unfortunate. I think that the stat was at one point, it was the guys with the late Thursday, early Friday were like 12 over, and the guys with the early Thursday, late Friday were like 116 over or something like that. Like, it was not even close. So you had to get a little bit lucky in where you drew your tee time this week. But except for that, I just think the best players are, there's so much momentum in a major, and Rory just could not get on track at any point. I walked with him for a couple of shots on a Tuesday practice round. He looked fully confident. He had the swagger. I saw him drop a ball in a bunker on 18 on purpose just so he could, hit that shot out of 18, that approach on that famous out of the sand approach on 18. And he looked like he was just going to, roll this thing. He was my pick. I didn't pick him on with the odds because I didn't think the price was very good. But I thought if I was going to pick one golfer to win this week, it was going to be Rory McIlroy. And he just exploded out there. It's just, I can't explain it. Sometimes that happens.
All right, Jeff, what do you think? Weather, was part of it just luck?
From a DFS perspective, yeah. Getting on the right side of the draw was big. And that is a big factor. Like, you get in these poor conditions. It's once the bogey train starts and it's that windy and that rainy, it is almost impossible to stop. I think the other factor here is, especially with the bigger name players like with Rory and Justin Thomas, is we're talking about a major. When you're kind of going the wrong way in a major and you start to realize, oh, I'm out of it, it's just like, the bubble just pops instantly. Like the letdown, it's not like we're in, some random event like Bay Hill and it's like, oh, okay, maybe I won't win this week, but I'm going to grind to make the cut. You're let down. You've been trying to peak for this event for 4 months, and now you're basically out of it at like the end of round 2. You can kind of understand why there's such a big letdown by some of these elite players in the big events once they kind of get out of it. But Rory was the most surprising to me as well. Just the way he started. I really think McIlroy still has a problem adjusting to conditions week to week. It's a mental part of his game that just isn't the strongest. When the conditions get a little bit different, something that he doesn't necessarily like, he tends to give up quicker than other top players. And I think that's borne out. Justin Thomas was just kind of, I think, just an unfortunate set of circumstances. The ball was rolling in the wrong direction. He had some really tough holes to finish in probably the worst weather. I'd be more inclined to give JT a break this week. I think Rory has more things to think about personally.
Yeah, Rory has failed to break par in 6 of his last 8 rounds at Augusta. So if you take away that brilliant final round last year, his scoring average over his last 3 trips to Augusta is 73.7.
He has not been great there. I think he's feeling the pressure a little bit, to be honest with you. Last 2 years of Phil Mickelson's life, Jeff Ulrich, have been an absolute roller coaster, unlike really anything we've seen in professional golf. So, of course, he goes out and he shoots a final round 65 to become the oldest player to finish inside the top 5 at Augusta. Of all the improbable saves in Phil Mickelson's career, Jeff, where does finishing second at the 2023 Masters rank?
There's an argument that, this is even crazier than when he won the PGA a couple of seasons ago. You can put it in a little bit of perspective here. It was a crazy event, Phil grinding the cut, and then he basically had one really solid round on Sunday. It was better than a solid round. It was an incredibly solid round. So you got to give him a lot of credit for that. At the same time, I just feel like with Phil, there's been so much going on over the last 2 seasons. It's easy to forget that this is a player who won a major championship 2 years ago. Phil isn't Tiger. He doesn't have the same injury problems. His swing puts less torque on his body. He just hasn't had those kind of layoffs or those massive injuries to deal with. So, him going back, obviously kind of going into seclusion, working on himself. I think you're seeing a little bit of a product of that. So Phil Mickelson is a very special player. If Tiger Woods didn't exist, there's a real chance that Phil Mickelson is probably, has maybe double the majors he has, maybe not double, but certainly more than he already does. And we're talking about players who fit with courses here. Phil Mickelson and Augusta are just Phil loves this course so much. It sets up so well for lefties as well. It's a complete opposite of Rory McIlroy, where Rory comes here, it's a struggle to figure it out. He puts pressure on himself. Phil comes here, he's already got a couple green jackets, and he just has fun. And it's his funnest week of the year. So as long as Phil Mickelson is healthy and mentally stable, he's probably always going to be some kind of factor at Augusta, even into his late 50s, as crazy as that sounds.
Colin, Phil can still thrill here, man. How impressive was it over the weekend?
That was truly incredible. To shoot 65 on Sunday at over 50 years old at Augusta, just incredible. And like Jeff said, he sets up well, but he does because he's able to shape shots. So many of these holes are draw holes for right-handers, but as a lefty, he can hit that fade, that high cut, that just opens up so much of the course for him. This is like a perfect track for him. And obviously his short game is, maybe the best that's ever been. So when he gets in trouble around those holes, that he can get up and down probably better than anyone and make some putts. Truly incredible. Like, look, I saw the high flyers, logo that he was wearing from his live team, but are we sure that he shouldn't be sponsored by Ozempic? Like, come on, man. My man has cut his body down. Like, that is not the same Phil that we saw, when he made that little, 6-inch jump when he won the Masters, whatever first year it was, and probably shook the clubhouse. He has lost a lot of weight. He is clearly in better physical condition. You can see by the length of his swing, it's really there. And I saw it this week. I was very interested to see the reaction of the crowd, the patrons, to what they would see to the LIV golfers and how they would react. They were received overwhelmingly positively, or at least politely, all around the course. I don't think that hurts. If Phil was getting openly booed, he clearly cares what people think. I think that would be an issue, but he was in a safe space, as it were. And I think the crowd really got behind him, and he just sort of flashed back for him a little bit.
It's a good point. Might be a little different scenario for these guys when they come out to like the PGA and the US Open, where you don't have the Masters kind of being like, okay, you want to heckle, you're out of here kind of thing. So Masters is its own space for sure. Safe space. I think that's a great way to put it.
I mean, it's just so weird because I did see he had a little bit of an icy reception, but then he started hitting bombs and dropping putts just like the Phil of old, and people started warming up again. Then there was the awkward, near silence the entire Masters Champions dinner. I just think when his playing career is over, it's like the history of Phil Mickelson will basically be divided into two parts, which is going to be pre-comment and post-comment. And everyone knows what that one comment is.
Yep, we all sure do.
Very dangerous.
All right, Colin, overall, years down the road, how are we going to remember this edition of the Masters? I mean, Rahm joining Sam Snead as the only players to win the Masters after making double bogey or worse on the first hole. Koepka just falling apart in spectacular fashion. Obviously, talking about Phil turning back the clock.
The weather. There's Tiger Woods.
Tiger Woods making his 23rd straight cut, but then having to withdraw. I mean, trees just falling on the course.
Oh my God! I would have laid by that tree and been like, my legs, and then gotten 3 Masters tickets for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
No, it was so funny. I was walking by that space, and it's so slippery down there. It is amazing to me. It's so wet, and it's not quite grass. It's like this loam that they have. And if that tree had fallen at 20% faster, somebody was absolutely going to, because they weren't even going to be able to get out of the way in time. I was so glad nobody got hurt there. For me, the thing that I'm going to remember here is that Jon Rahm, grinded through this as the best player in the world. I think that's the full takeaway here. And plus, first European player to win the US Open and the Masters. I think that's huge, for one of these guys to come over here and win the two biggest majors, with apologies to the PGA. It's the fourth of the four. To come over here and be the first European guy to win both of those. And I know he looks a little bit older because it's the beard and whatever. He's only 28. That's the thing, man. This guy's going to be really good for a really long time. If anybody's going to threaten records, legacies, get into that Tiger, Jack, Artie type of tier of the guys that are on tour right now. I think the only two you can really say have that shot are Rory and Jon Rahm. And Rahm is certainly playing better right now. And I'm very interested. This could absolutely be a year that is for the ages for this guy. Could he win 6-7 elevated events? That's completely in play here, which is just absurd.
Yeah, Jeff, pretty wild that he's 28.
I thought he was 27, actually. So there you go. But
it's around that neck of the woods.
I think Colin's right on the number. Regardless, I think that the biggest thing, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but the biggest thing is this is going to be kind of like the Jon Rahm. I want to say coronation. I know he's won a Masters before or a major before this, but this to me, this stretch of golf now is okay, Jon Rahm's gone from single major winner. He's left the Adam Scott group, the Jason Day group. He's now in a multiple championship major winner category. And I think we've just seen the launching pad here. I agree. He's a player who's hit his prime. He's a player who, even when he was younger, we said if he can just get his emotions under control, there's every chance Jon Rahm could end up with 7-8 major championships. And I think we're at the launching pad here of seeing that. So to me, this Masters is probably going to be the coming out of ceremony for kind of Jon Rahm. The biggest thing, but certainly we can also look back and just say the weather of this year, I mean, it's almost like the Open Championship was played at the Masters. That's the kind of weather that we see at an Open Championship. So you remember it for that, the poor weather, some of the worst weather you ever see players playing at the Masters. But overall, I think when you look back and you're just looking at who won and how this happened, this is going to be kind of the launching pad for Jon Rahm to go into that next stratosphere.
Yeah, clearly having 2 kids in 2 years has just launched him into like the stratosphere here.
It's dad strength. That's what
dad
it is.
Strength, dad strength, absolutely.
As a father of 2
my dad's
myself,
strength.
I know exactly what he's going through.
Okay.
Anywho, guys, let's go. Guys are off to Harbor Town now for the RBC Heritage. Many top players, like over the years, have opted to rest and recharge during this event. But this year, no way, baby. It's an elevated event. You got a boatload of cash up for grabs. You got a boatload of big dogs in the field. Rahm, Scotty, Spieth, Rory, just to name a few. Who are you backing for a top 10 or top 20 performance right now, Jeff?
Yeah, so I mean, there's 2 ways you can play the RBC. I mean, you look at the players who did poorly last week, and you can kind of look at them and say, okay, for the last 10 winners of the RBC Heritage, played the Masters and missed the cut. Spieth did it last season. You go back to 2015, Furyk, 2013, Graham McDowell. I think that actually bodes really well for Justin Thomas, who was basically on Twitter all weekend lamenting his fate and talking about how badly he wanted to be playing golf. I like Justin Thomas. It's a Pete Dye course. He's won on TPC Sawgrass. He's one of the most elite iron players in the game. I'm not just backing Justin Thomas for a top 10. I think he's a great outright target. His odds are up there. We're going to show them on the board right now, plus 2,500. You give me plus 2,500 for Justin Thomas in pretty much any regular PGA Tour event. That's just a good bet. I think you could also look at guys like Hovland or Colin Morikawa, who set up extremely well for this course. But Justin Thomas is the guy I want to back. I'm also going to give a shout out to Brandon Wu for a top 20 right off the bat. We'll talk more about him later in the week, but really underrated player, potentially a great kind of top 20 target.
Colin, how much weight do you put in Masters performances for those who suited up at Augusta and in the field this week?
Yeah, I think Jeff Scott is really important here. If you just get down in the dumps, coming out of Augusta, I don't think it necessarily translates. This is almost a completely different sport that they're going to be playing. They're going to be going from one of the longest, distance long hitter courses anywhere in golf to the RBC Chip and Putt, which is basically, this is not a real long place. My Uncle Jimmy used to work down the street, and I got to play this place a couple times. It's really short. Like, there's not a ton of room here. You don't need to hit bombs. There's drivable par 4s. There's, but other than that, like, this is basically, you roll putts, you're going to win. So give me guys who are playing well right now. Overall, Sahith Theegala, we don't have top 10, top 20s yet, but Sahith Theegala right now, plus 6,000 to win this thing. He seems like a really good target to be in that top 10, top 20 range. He's playing really good golf right now. His confidence has to be sky high. He sets up well for this type of course.
All right, good stuff. Colin, you are free to go. Jeff, stick around. The NHL season is coming to a close. A storybook season for the Bruins. We are diving into best bets and DFS plays on a 10-game slate coming up.
Yo, DraftKings, y'all got the most ways to bet on NBA players. I'm hyped. Hitting props, that's my dog. Stack up buckets, blocks, and boards on my boy? Or superstar going one-on-one against another superstar? Oh, it's on. And all these bets are on my man's dedicated page? Now you spoiling me, DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and bet $5 to win $150 in bonus bets on your team to win. Action so good, why bet anywhere else? That's my move. He used my move.
Betting without a game plan is a little like skating a giant ramp without helmet and pads. I wouldn't risk it. And I wouldn't bet without a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook provides you with tools to set a realistic budget and time limits, so you're ready to bet responsibly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook and Casino apps to learn more about how you can practice safe bets.
This season, DraftKings Sportsbook is your place to bet on the greatest sport on ice. There's so many ways to get closer to the game. And with this latest offer, you can win big. Now that is deserving of some victory stick taps.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, sign up with the promo code, and take advantage of this great offer.
And get in on the action with an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
With DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports, you can play for millions with a lineup full of big NBA stars. Maybe you throw in a three-point specialist that's been around the league, seen a thing or two. You know, if you want. Download DraftKings and play for your share of millions. Action's so good, why play NBA anywhere else?
All right, the NHL playoff push is down to the wire. 7 of the 8 playoff spots are filled in the West. 6 of the 8 playoff teams are confirmed in the East. So most of the attention is going to be on the 2 wildcard races. 3 teams fighting for 1 spot in the West. 4 squads going after 2 spots in the East. Bruins going to have home ice advantage throughout the postseason. Of course, yesterday they set the record for most wins in a single season with 63.
All right, bees are off tonight, but Jeff Ulrich, we got a juicy 10-game slate we need to dive into with you. Let's start with the games with some big playoff implications here. So Islanders battling Florida for the wild card, New York and Washington tonight. What's your favorite bet for Caps Islanders?
Yeah, I mean, I like the Islanders tonight. I really do. I mean, I think this is a very confident team. They played a lot better defensively since the middle of the year. They got an elite goaltender. They get a Capitals team who they beat on the road. A couple weeks ago, it was 2-1. It was close, but Capitals have lost 4 or 5 in a row now. They're not playing well. I would just look at the New York money line. I think that's absolutely fine here. The Capitals allowing a lot of shots. Alex Ovechkin is also banged up. I just don't see the Capitals bringing it. I really don't. And I think the Islanders are playing too well and just have too strong a defense to really worry about the Capitals too much. I think it's a pretty fair line, to be honest, minus 165. I think you'd also look at the Capitals in the goal-scoring department. Anders Lee at plus 190, a guy I always like targeting. I think with the way the Capitals are playing out the string, allowing 3 to 5 goals per night, it seems like looking at the Islanders' top goal scorers, you're getting actually pretty good value. Anders Lee is just one guy there in that department where you could certainly look to.
Yeah, dude, Washington's been showing 0 signs of life, and here's a fun fact: New York's 7-3 in its last 10 games against Metropolitan Division opponents.
They're good.
All right, Jeff, Florida at home against Toronto, who's clinched. What's your best bet in this one?
Yeah, so these 2 teams played about a week ago as well. It was really close. It was, the Panthers beating the Toronto Maple Leafs on the road. I'm of the opinion, like, the Panthers have been so much better at home than on the road this season, and Toronto basically has nothing to play for. I just looked at the Panthers on the puck line here, plus 160. Again, like, nothing against the Maple Leafs here. I'm not really even picking against them. I'm just picking against the circumstances. The Panthers' offense has been absolutely just on fire over the last couple games. They basically are now in a win and in scenario. They have a game against the Leafs and they have a game against the Hurricanes. They get those, it's over. Toronto has nothing to play for here. I get that they could play spoiler and all that. You also just don't even know what the Maple Leafs lineup is going to look like at this point in the season. They could start pulling players. I don't think that's going to happen tonight, but I have a lot of confidence in the Panthers right here. They're a really, really solid home team. Their offense has been on fire, like I said. Now, plus 160, that's the biggest factor. This isn't plus 120. We've been seeing some of these teams go at like minus 110 on the puck line. Plus 160 on the puck line for a surging Panthers team, I think is more than fair.
All right, in the West, Jets, Flames, Predators, all in action. Let's start with Jets and Sharks. We know Winnipeg's won 3 of its last 4. A lot riding on these final 3 games here, Jeff. So what do you want to do on the DK Sportsbook?
Yeah, the Jets are a team that can be hard to figure a little bit. They're extremely solid defensively, and every time we bring up the Jets, I basically say the same thing. You should be looking towards the under, and I really have no reason not to do that tonight. I know you look at the trends with the Sharks. They allow a lot of goals. The over in their games have hit, I believe, 5 in a row, but the Jets unders are so strong, 5-0 in their last 5 games against specific opponents. They just came off like a low scoring win. I believe was against the Predators. The Jets are just an under machine, especially at home. And Connor Hellebuck and the Jets are just going to keep the San Jose offense on the ground. The worry here is, do the Jets get to like 5 or 6 goals? But I think given that this is a playoff atmosphere, I'm not going to play for some kind of shootout or even some crazy win. I think it's more likely you see some kind of 4-2, 4-1 kind of win for the Jets. So I think under 6.5 goals, considering we're getting the 6.5 total. Keep playing those under trends on the Jets until we get to the end of the season. I think you're not going to see very many goals from the San Jose Sharks. You can even look to play the under on the San Jose Sharks team total. If you want, you can get really good odds on going under 1.5 goals. So if you're looking for a bit bigger odds, you can go under on San Jose. But just overall, I like playing the under on the game total.
All right, Nashville, Calgary, Preds enter play 3 points back of the Jets for the final wild card spot in the Western Conference, trailing the Flames by 2 points. I mean, this should be a playoff atmosphere in Calgary. What's the play here?
Yeah, again, the Flames are a team, they need help, but this is kind of their Waterloo, like you said. I mean, they lose tonight, it's over. I mean, like they have basically no shot. The Jets can also close them out with wins, though. But I think Calgary puts everything into this one. I really do. The Predators are a team, solid. They have a really good goaltender in UC Saros, but the Flames are really solid at home. I would just look to the puck line on this one as well. I do like the Flames quite a bit. You could play them on the money line. It's minus 205. Maybe you play them on the regulation line. You're getting a better number there. But I like the Flames. I think that the Flames are going to come to play tonight. I think that this is basically their Stanley Cup. I don't think that they're going to make it because I think the Jets are just going to close them out. But I do like Calgary tonight. Minus 1.5 on the puck line, plus 120. Like I said, the Predators are a solid team. They're really scrappy, but they're doing this without a lot of top talent. I think Calgary at home has just been too good, and I think 5-on-5, they're just going to dominate this game. And if they get a couple early ones past Saros, I just don't see the Predators having the guns to come back in this one. So give me Calgary on the puck line here. I think they probably win this one. It's probably not going to be enough for them overall, but I do like Calgary tonight.
Let's hit some DFS before you take off, dude. Give us a top-priced winger or center you like on this 10-game slate tonight.
Again, we talked about the Islanders already, but I certainly like Bo Horvat at 6,600. Again, Washington Capitals have just been terrible over their last few games. I think Horvat and the Islanders top line are in a really good spot here. Again, don't have to worry. I shouldn't say don't have to worry. Alex Ovechkin, still questionable for this game. If he misses, though, I mean, that's just going to open up the ice for the Islanders top line here. So Bo Horvat, certainly someone off the top that I really like. I think looking to the Dallas-Detroit game is another spot for DFS. You've got two centers there, and Rupe Hintz and Dylan Larkin at under 7K. Dylan Larkin's been really, really good over the last month and a half, 6,700 for him. Again, Dallas doesn't have a ton to play for. I mean, obviously still, I shouldn't say that. They're still in the battle with Colorado, but Dallas has made the playoffs as well. I think Detroit's playing well. They could probably surprise Dallas here. Wouldn't shock me. So Dylan Larkin there, again, point-per-game players we can see on the screen. Been really solid over his last couple months of play. I think Dylan Larkin at 6,700, as long as he's under 7K, makes for a really good target tonight.
All right, Jeff, what's the play on the blue line for a defenseman here?
Yeah, there's some really good spots for blue liners tonight. I got to start off with Adam Fox at 6,300 going up against the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres have a bottom 10 power play or penalty kill, They allow a ton of shots. They've been starting third stringers in net. I fully expect that the Rangers, maybe we get some starters pulled in their last game, but I fully expect the Rangers offense here to have one more go at it. Adam Fox, just a supreme power play producer here. So really good spot for him, going down. I also like Quinn Hughes at 5,800. The LA Kings have just been plummeting lately. I believe they're now 3-8 in their last 11 games. Quinn Hughes and the Vancouver Canucks offense has been really solid over the last month or so. Really good power play producer. Again, LA Kings goaltending, not so good. They've been regressing. They have injuries to deal with. I think the Kings are kind of just closing up shop here until the playoffs start and hoping they can get guys like Fiala back. I think Quinn Hughes at 5,800, another really good target. You can pair him with guys like Elias Pettersson, JT Miller if you want. So Quinn Hughes at 5,800, Adam Fox, a couple good power play specialists there to really, build around.
And with more than a dozen teams having already clinched, we got some guys resting, so you should have lots of choices in the value play department. Who do you like?
Yeah, it's funny. It's not as deep as you would think down there tonight. I mean, in terms of value, there's obviously a lot of names to pick from, but a couple different spots I don't mind looking at. I mean, the Senators are interesting at home. A guy like Shane Pinto has been really sort of picking the pace up a little bit. But I'm going to go with the Calgary players for my favorite. I think Jonathan Huberdeau, again, 3,800, must-win game. I just, the DFS price on Huberdeau, it's not that he's had that good a season, but it's just so tempting when he's under 4K. I really think that Jonathan Huberdeau, again, tonight with the Flames offense potentially, I think in a bit of a breakout spot, potentially even an underrated spot for the Flames offense. I think Huberdeau at 3,800 definitely has to sort of top your list of players you should be looking at. Also, don't hate the Kraken tonight against, obviously against Arizona. I mean, who would hate a team against Arizona? You shouldn't. You should never hate them. But Daniel Sprong at 4,300, he's been on fire lately. I mean, kind of just an all-around sort of depth player. But Daniel Sprong has come on lately for the Kraken. He's had a nice little run here lately. He's averaging 2.9 shots on goal over his last 10 games. He's got 5 goals over his last 10 games as well. He's 4,300, but loading up on some Seattle wingers here against Arizona, certainly not a bad strategy either.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Good stuff. Hockey playoffs coming in hot, obviously, and the NBA play-in starts tomorrow, so we're going to break down those matchups that are set. Chinmay and Jeff are going to hand out some plays for the series that are set, and the Levitard Show. They love how the West could shake out in the second round. Take a look.
Mino Hassan knows more about basketball, I believe, than anyone in our world. Tom Haberstroh is pretty close. Renee, Kate are pretty close. But Amin really, really knows how to teach us basketball. Has been doing it for a long time around here. And you believe, tell me if I have this wrong, that the bottom half of the West is more dangerous than the top half of the West? That the Lakers and the Warriors and now that and the Clippers, that now when playoff time starts and the real basketball starts, we've been fiddling around. It's never meant less than it does now, the regular season, because guys are load managing. Everyone's getting ready for right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't say the top half. I would say teams 4 through 7 are a better bet to win the West than teams 1 through 3. And here's why. Right? And for those who don't know, 1 through 3 are Denver, Memphis, and Sacramento. 4 through 7, as of right now, are Phoenix, Golden State, the Clippers, and the Lakers.
Stan says the Clippers are the most talented team in the West. Stan Van Gundy, which I find surprising.
They have a lot of talent. Paul George is hurt. We don't have clarity on when he's going to be back.
He's always hurt.
Obviously, if he comes back, you have to take them seriously. They've got a veteran team. They've got a guy in Kawhi Leonard, obviously, who's been there to the mountaintop and is consistently a great playoff performer. But let's talk about the other teams as well. The Lakers, let me start with the Suns, undefeated when Kevin Durant plays. I mean, they have been every bit as good as build as we thought they would be when Kevin Durant was acquired.
Their bench isn't going to matter if he stays healthy and is Kevin Durant.
And Devin Booker is Devin Booker, and et cetera, et cetera. So, like, they're great.
That team doesn't even need Chris Paul to be great anymore, does it? Needs him to be good.
Well, he won't be, so they don't have to worry.
They don't need him to be great. They need him to be good, though. They need him to be serviceable, at least.
At long last, the NBA regular season has come to an end. Playoffs officially upon us. Even on the final day yesterday, there was a ton of important action going on. A few of Sunday's season finales, Jesse, had significant ramifications on the postseason seeding, at least in the Western Conference. So we got some futures bets to dive into right now with the play-in tournament starting tomorrow.
Yeah, DraftKings contributor Jeff Pratt, DK Nation's Chinmay Veja are here to help us out. So guys, should have some great games, if not great series, going down in the first round. Let's start with Cavs and Knicks. Cavs a favorite to make the series at minus 200. Chinmay, what do you think? Too much juice? Do you like the Knicks at plus 160?
The Knicks are historically not a good playoff team. I don't think they've won a playoff series for over a few decades now. So, or actually last decade, it's been 11 years since they won a playoff series. So there's some nice storylines here with Donovan Mitchell and the history that he had with the Knicks pursuing him, the Cavs eventually landing him in the trade. But for me, really, the Julius Randle injury situation is what I need clarity on before betting on this series. Randle has been really good this season for the Knicks. I know Jalen Brunson has gotten a lot of the headlines, but Randle has really been that consistent force over the last few years who has given the Knicks a solid foundation offensively to build around. This is Cleveland in 5 or less for me right now. Unless we know that Randle is going to suit up for the duration of the series, I could see the Knicks potentially pushing it to 6. But I think the Cavs dominate this one. They've looked really good. They're not quite at the level of those top 3 teams in the East, but I think they're just a step down from that. And, you know, maybe an injury here or there, maybe Cleveland finds a way to make a deep run in the playoffs. Give me the Cavs in this one. I just don't like the history with New York, and the Randle injury situation is unclear for me.
Yeah, Jeff, the sprained ankle no longer requiring the walking boot, but definitely still up in the air.
Yeah, I completely agree with Chinmay. I think it is always worth checking out the season series results heading into these first round matchups. And the Knicks actually do have a pretty serious edge in that department. They've won 3 of the last 4 meetings between these teams, 3 straight. That being said, I agree with Chinmay. I'm rolling with Cleveland here. I honestly think the Cavs get it done in 5 games or less, just like he said. Just looking at how these teams match up on paper, pretty much everything is working in Cleveland's favor here. They have an incredibly tough defensive front court which is going to neutralize New York's best offensive weapon in Julius Randle if he can even play. As we're talking about, we don't even know if he's going to be able to play, but if he does, he's going to be forced to beat the Cavs from the outside. And if that happens, hey, I'll tip my cap to him, but I just don't see it. And Jalen Brunson's been great for the Knicks. RJ Barrett's been okay, but the Cavs have just as much offensive firepower, if not more, and a much better defense. Cleveland, somewhat quietly, has the best defensive rating in the league, and in the playoffs, that stuff matters. So I'm rolling with Donovan Mitchell and company to cruise through this series.
Jeff, we got the lower-seeded Warriors listed as a minus 290 favorite in the series against the Kings. What shot are you giving Sacramento here?
Yeah, the Warriors are going to be really popular in this series, and that's understandable to an extent. Golden State obviously has the championship pedigree, and this is the first time the Kings have made the playoffs in 16 seasons. All of that said, I am rolling with Sacramento in this series, and I'm ecstatic that they're underdogs, to be honest. I believe that great teams can flip a switch after a tough first quarter of a season, or even a tough half of a season. But the Warriors have been one of the worst road teams we have ever seen for the entirety of this year. They're 11-30 on the road. And in case people forgot, they're going to have to win a road game in this series as the lower seed. It's pretty simple math. I just don't believe Golden State can completely turn around that part of their game. So not only will they have to win a road game against one of the best offensive teams the league has ever seen, but the Kings are also really, really good in away situations on their own. They're one of only two Western Conference teams with an above 500 road record at 25-16. If Sacramento manages to steal a game in San Francisco, I don't really see how Golden State can pull out this series.
Chinmay, the higher-seeded Kings are plus 225 on the DK Sportsbook to win this thing.
Yeah, I do think the price is a little bit inflated. I think it should be a bit closer given the Warriors' road struggles this season. But I think this will really come down to the first two games. If the Warriors can steal one of those first two games, their home record is wildly impressive. They're still a juggernaut at home, and their defense is starting to round into form. You can see where, this team struggled a little bit. Steph Curry missed so much time. Andrew Wiggins was gone for a long time. Wiggins has a week to get back into conditioning form. Draymond Green, we know what he can do defensively and the impact that he can have. And most importantly, this team has the championship pedigree, has the playoff experience. If you want to pick any team to win a road game in the postseason to flip that switch, it's the Golden State Warriors. In the Steve Kerr era, when Curry, Clay, and Draymond have been available for the duration of a series, they haven't lost it. They've never lost a playoff series yet when those three guys are on the floor for every game. So until that happens, until it actually happens, until I actually see it, I can't go against Golden State. But I do think that this goes to 6 or 7. I don't think we get a quick series here.
All right, so not the greatest value for series winners on the DK Sportsbook, but lots of value that you can find even in that Philly Nets Suns Clippers series. So favorite series spread bet or series correct score bet, Chinmay?
As we mentioned earlier with Cavs Knicks, I like under 5.5 games for Cavs Knicks, which comes in at plus 145 on the DK Sportsbook. I think that's a great price right now. And even if Randall does play, I think he could be limited or ineffective. And I think Cleveland's defense is really going to get the job done. So I like that one. 76ers Nets 4-1 as the correct series score is listed at plus 210 right now. I personally believe that if the Sixers take more than 5 games in this series, I can't take them seriously as a contender. So I think they're going to try to get the job done early here. Brooklyn might steal one game at home, but I think the talent gap is just so great in this one that I'll take Philly 4-1 as the correct score there.
All right, Jeff, how are you playing this one? What's up?
I'm expecting Phoenix to cruise against the Clippers, so I'm looking at odds in that matchup. You could take the Suns to cover a 1.5 game spread at minus 200, but I would rather head to the series correct score section. You can get the Suns to sweep at plus 320 and the Suns to win 4-1 at plus 240. I would rather dip into both of those than just take the series spread. Phoenix is undefeated with Kevin Durant in the lineup. The Clippers are shorthanded without Paul George. As of right now, we did get a somewhat positive news update on him. He is in the middle of his rehab, but still without a timetable for a return. Now, Kawhi Leonard is a monster in the playoffs. We've seen it consistently throughout the year. So I want to give him the respect he deserves. I just don't think the Clippers have nearly enough offensive firepower to keep up with the Suns. So Phoenix should get this one done quickly in 5 or even 4 games.
All right, Jeff, as we enter the play-in portion of the postseason, whose odds do you like right now to win the Eastern Conference? Bucks with the best, the shortest odds, plus 125, and then your Celtics at plus 160.
I really do think this is a 2-team race. As long as health permits, we should be looking at a Bucks-Celtics Eastern Conference Finals matchup. And I am obviously biased. You guys have said it. So I'm telling everyone right now that I would bet on both of these teams to win the conference at plus money. They're both plus money. I am going to roll with Boston to beat Milwaukee in that potential series and win the East. I would like someone to sit here right now and tell me that they're confident in how Milwaukee matches up against Boston. Maybe Chinmay will do that in a minute or so. But in 3 meetings between these teams this year, the Celtics blew the Bucks out in December. They lost in overtime in a game where the Bucks were playing their starters and trying to win, and the Celtics were rolling out Derek White, Sam Hauser, and Peyton Pritchard as their top offensive options. And they just beat Milwaukee by 41 less than 2 weeks ago in a game both teams kind of desperately wanted to win because it was a huge determining factor in what the 1 seed was going to be. Now, obviously, Boston ended up losing to Washington, and it didn't matter down the stretch, but that was a statement game. And the Celtics have proven consistently that they have a game plan for defending Giannis. They succeeded in doing it last year in the Eastern Conference semifinals. I think they can do it again. So I'll give Boston the slight edge over Milwaukee, but it's going to be one of those 2 teams.
Chinmay, do you agree it's just a 2-team race in the East, so no thank you to plus 475 for the 76ers?
Sorry, Philly.
I disagree that it's just a 2-team race.
Yes, thank you.
76ers, if again, provided that they stay healthy and that they can get the job done against the Nets in 5 or less. I think there are some concerns with Philly, and I do think that if they get past the Nets series quickly and are healthy, they do provide a real challenge to some of these top teams. The Bucks at plus 125, I think, is good. I do have some concerns over Chris Middleton. His knee injury is lingering. The load management hasn't really worked. It gets tingly randomly during games. He leaves. So that's definitely a concern. And again, this is not a knock on the Celtics. I think the Celtics are a tremendous team, and I would not be surprised if they absolutely roll through this playoff series. The East is really, this first round is like an appetizer for the main course. The second and third round of the Eastern Conference is where we're really going to see some of the top teams come together. I have no problem with betting on the Bucks and the Celtics to get to the finals. I think both teams are very even. Middleton's health might swing it for Boston for me. I do like the 76ers, though, at plus 475. I think that is still an option. The talent is there. They've just never put it together in the postseason up until now. This could be the year. Who knows? I do think it's still they're on the outside. I think it's a 2.5 team race. If we're being more fair to Jeff.
Oh, man.
All right, what do we think? Is it a 2-team race in the West, Chinmay? Suns plus 190, Warriors plus 350.
The West is very intriguing for a number of reasons. And, Jeff hinted at Paul George's situation. If he can come back within the first 2 games for this Suns-Clippers playoff series, the Clippers have a ton of depth. And George gives them the defensive versatility that they would need to hypothetically cover Durant and Booker and Ayton and Paul. So the Clippers are no, slouch here in the West, especially in this first round series. And that's why I think even Golden State, Jeff mentioned he's taken Sacramento in that first round series. But the Warriors at plus 350 are very intriguing just because of the potential playoff path that they would have. They wouldn't face the Suns or the Nuggets until the conference finals, and even the Clippers. So really the matchup is the Kings, who haven't played in the postseason in 16 years, the Grizzlies, who, as Klay Thompson said, have done a lot of talk but haven't actually won anything, and the Warriors, who just came off a championship. Plus 350 is good value on Golden State. If it was Suns-Warriors, though, I would take Phoenix. But I think the path right now is more favorable for Golden State. I think there are too many minds for Phoenix, potentially, with the Clippers and then the Nuggets even as the number 1 seed, getting some health, getting some rest and getting healthy again. So the Suns at 190 are probably the best team in the West, but I think the Warriors offer the most value with their playoff path.
All right, Jeff, what do we think?
I think Chinmay and I are on different pages for both these
Wow,
conferences.
we like
which
that.
Is, which is
Great.
Which is fair, you know. Quickly on Philly, I just how are you supposed to trust the 76ers until they prove that they can do anything in the playoffs? But moving back to the West, I think this is a one-team race. To be completely honest, as long as Kevin Durant and Devin Booker stay healthy, it's going to be the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion. As I mentioned earlier, they're undefeated in games with Kevin Durant this year. I do expect them to eventually lose a game, but they might not lose a lot throughout this playoff run. They're more talented than any other team in their conference. They have championship experience in Kevin Durant, finals experience in the rest of their roster, a fantastic head coach in Monty Williams. I think they should realistically cruise here. Now, if KD or Booker does get hurt, which is always a possibility when we examine the injury history of both of those guys, this could get interesting. Just looking at the rest of the odds in the West, I don't like Denver. They've been playing bad basketball for a couple of months now, really limped into the playoffs. They don't have enough experience in that department. I've already said why I don't really trust the Warriors. The road struggles are pretty telling for me. The Grizzlies aren't incredibly exciting. The Lakers could make a run. Time will tell. The Clippers don't have enough firepower without Paul George. Now, obviously, if Paul George does come back, they could make that a series with Phoenix. This, once again, leaves me with the Sacramento Kings, who Chinmay just completely disregarded with the Warriors beating them. But the Kings have the 9th best odds to win the Western Conference, despite being the 3 seed. The disrespect that this team is facing is unreal. I believe in them to prove the doubters wrong, at least in the first round. I'm not saying that they're going to make it all the way, but if something happens to Kevin Durant or Devin Booker and injuries pop up elsewhere, I think there's a possibility that the Kings make a run to at least the Western Conference Finals and make some noise in that series.
All right, gentlemen, we are out of time. We'll get your NBA Finals predictions later in the week, but I'm liking Suns to beat the Celtics at plus 1,500 odds right now on the DK Sportsbook. Sorry, Jeff. Yeah, we're flying through this show right now. We got one more break to go. We got one more block to go. But how short is too short when we're talking about MLB games right now? Because they have been sped up with the new rule changes. Does baseball have a pace of play issue again? Here are the folks at the Le Batard Show.
And I'm starting to officially get concerned about baseball and timing.
Officially?
Can I just jump in? I can't believe that you genuinely believe this take of yours.
I do.
Like, baseball is better. It's so much better to watch now.
Well, hold on. Yesterday, Sandy, the reigning Cy Young, pitched a 1 hour and 57-minute complete game shutout, which is obscenely fast. Very quick game.
I couldn't even put my kid to bed to watch it.
Well, okay, so
it started at 6:40, so it's done before 8:40.
Which, by the way, Marlins, we're gonna have to have a conversation about this because right now 6:40 is not a good time for me.
Right. We used to start it at 6:40 because they took so long.
Yeah,
they're not taking as long now. Let's get back 7:05.
Here's what happened yesterday, in case you're wondering, in the Gill household. 6:40 is prime time, feeding, bath time, put the baby to bed time. Right? So we start that process. We're doing that. I sit down at 8:30 because
and your wife is hiding your things. Whenever she leaves the room, she's taking things she doesn't want in the house, like your shirts or socks and stuff, and throwing them in the garbage can when you're not looking.
I haven't been able to prove it yet, but it's a strong suspicion of mine that it's not that I'm reckless and I lose my things. It's that it's getting thrown away. That's the only solution I have for this.
I have a solution for you.
What's that?
Those little ring cameras or the blink cameras.
Yeah.
You put it, and then you just download the app on your phone, and it's motion detected, so you can see whenever anyone's rummaging around your stuff.
Okay, so I should just wire my entire house with cameras
and spy on your wife.
I'm just saying, but you can put them like very, very tastefully, so they're not obvious, like behind a plant.
Yeah, but you're not spying on your wife.
No,
you do it under the umbrella of just making sure everything's okay when I'm not there.
Yeah, some safe links.
Right. Yeah.
Throughout the house.
Don't tell her.
Making sure the inside of my kitchen is safe.
But then
the safest thing is to not tell her. Trust me on this.
I'd also probably have to then go through hours and hours and hours of footage just to try to identify a shirt when someone's going through a drawer, and then follow. But anytime anyone goes by anything, it sets it off and it records. Then I'd have to follow the cameras throughout my house to see where this shirt may or may not end up. It seems like a full-time job trying to track down one shirt.
I mean, do it the way you're doing it now, just guessing. I wonder if she is or not.
I don't want to know.
You can have answers. There you go.
Yeah, but
doing it.
You don't want to know.
You want to suspect, though.
Yeah,
you do want to suspect, but you don't want to actually know. Because you think she might be.
I don't want to confirm the betrayal should it be true. You know what I mean?
What's missing?
I don't know. That's the thing. That's how my wife wins, is because I don't know it's missing until I need it, and then I can't find it, and then I know it's missing. It's the perfect crime. It's like stabbing someone with an icicle.
So the Tampa Bay Rays have just been steamrolling opponents this season, ripping through the Tigers, the Nationals, and now the Athletics. They've outscored all three of these teams 75-18. They've become now the first team since the 2003 Kansas City Royals to start the season 9-0, and they have 24 home runs, the most through 9 games in 23 years.
Absolutely outrageous. And who could have seen this coming? Funny, you should ask, because our own Steve Buchanan thought that perhaps this might happen. Take a look.
Here's what I'm going to tell you. Schedule. We talk strength of schedule and things like football, college basketball. But in baseball now, with teams playing this schedule of everybody in MLB, it's going to drastically cut down on division games. Where did the Red Sox struggle last year? They got killed in the division, 76 games. We're cutting a huge portion of that out, and the Red Sox were great out of division last year. So when you balance this schedule off, I think that the Red Sox are going to be much better overall and go over their win total.
Yeah, one other MLB future I like too as well. You can get a race to 10 wins. Which team wins 10 games first? The Rays have a very generous schedule to start the season. They're going to be playing the first 13 games against the Detroit Tigers, Washington Nationals, Oakland Athletics, and Boston Red Sox at 9-1 odds. I like that one a lot.
So Steve picked the Rays first to 10 wins, and they have the chance to do that tonight against the Red Sox.
Yep.
RotoWire's Eric Halterman is here. Eric, wow. First of all, Steve,
Wow.
what a prediction. Second of all, do you think it's correct? Do you think they're going to do it tonight against the Red Sox?
I think you'd probably favor them in most of their games at this point. I don't think I'm really changing my opinion of the Rays that much after these first 9 games, given the quality of the opposition. I think, again, with the new rules, you trust the Rays as an organization to be prepared to hit the ground running. They did exactly that. I would have guessed they'd go 6-3, 7-2 over this stretch, so they're already probably up on their projected opening day win total, and great for them. I think they're very safely looking like a playoff team already, but it's a long season. We'll see if they end up as a whole lot better than we expected going into the year, but certainly couldn't have started out much better for them.
All right, let's cover the bases. Sox are coming off their first series sweep of the 2023 season. It'll be Nick Pivetta on the mound going up against the dominating Rays. Favorite pitcher for DFS tonight, though, Eric? Who do you like?
Yeah, it's an interesting slate. You got 3 expensive guys at the top in Max Scherzer, Luis Castillo, Julio Urias. You probably can't go wrong with any of them. But if you want to save a bit of cash, Andrew Heaney at 7,900 is really interesting to me. I love getting the chance to recommend a pitcher with an ERA over 23. I don't get to do that very often. He had an absolutely terrible first start against the Orioles. 7 runs, 8 outs recorded, but he was really good last year in the half season that he was available. A 3.10 ERA. The ERA estimators liked him even more. Sierra was down at 2.46. Struck out 35.5% of the batters he faced, walked just 6.1%. Those are ace numbers. Not saying he's definitely going to go out there and be an ace all year, but that's the kind of thing he can do on a per-game basis when he's on and when he's healthy. He's facing a Royals team that sits second last in team OPS, mark of 576. They're hitting 184 as a team. They're 6th worst in team strikeout rate. I think Heaney could be in for a big strikeout performance here, get himself back on track. And if he doesn't, then I'd start to get kind of worried because he's a pretty volatile pitcher over his career.
Eric, second base, favorite hitter in DFS. Who is it?
I feel like I might mention this guy's name every time you have me on, but Corey Seager.
Yep.
4,800, just a 119 WRC plus, but he's about to take off. He's slugging only 364, but his expected slugging per StatCast is over 100 points higher than that, 475. Making excellent contact. He's walking as much as he's struck out, which is demonstrating outstanding plate discipline. He has no homers yet, but he's got an 18.5% barrel rate. That's tied for 25th in the league. Everyone else in the top 40 in barrel rate already has at least 1 homer. So he's hitting like a star. He just doesn't quite have star results through a week and a half. I think he's going to get those star results soon, starting here against Zach Greinke, who allows a ton of contact still. He still gets out of a decent number of jams. His ERA wasn't that bad last year, and he's been fine so far this year. But a 12.5% strikeout rate last season. Under 17% this year. He's going to allow a lot of contact, and Seager is making some loud contact right now.
Eric, third base, best value play in DFS.
I'm going to go with Alec Burleson, outfielder for the Cardinals. He's at 2,900. Cardinals are playing at Coors Field, so I expect them all to be quite popular. You might just want to join in and play all the Cardinals. I think that's a perfectly fine move. But if you're playing just one, Burleson's been hitting second against righties and comes in under 3,000. So it's a great way to get a piece of whatever goes on there. Burleson didn't get a ton of attention heading into the year because the Cardinals outfield in particular is so crowded, and Burleson doesn't do anything but hit. But he also doesn't do anything but hit in the other meaning of that phrase. He's projected for above average power and contact, and even if he doesn't do anything else, that's still a pretty useful fantasy player whenever he's in the lineup. Hitting 318 through his first 6 games this year. German Marquez, I don't think is going to be that tough of an opponent. He's had some decent starts so far this year, but I don't think he's the level of pitcher that would counteract the Coors effect by any means. So I really like Burleson either alone as part of a Cardinals stack.
All right, Eric, real quick, take us home. Favorite run line or money line bet on the DK Sportsbook?
Let's bet against my Phillies, whether that's the Marlins money line minus 130. I think I actually probably like the run line plus 130 a little bit more. It's Sandy Alcantara versus Matt Strahm. This is the kind of line I would expect maybe with a fully healthy Phillies team that maybe you'd say the Marlins are only slight favorites here. But this is a Phillies team that has had so many injuries. Nick Castellanos is batting cleanup, and he looks maybe even worse than last year's version. He doesn't have a barrel yet, and he's striking out over 40% of the time. Did I read that right? That can't be, but it must be. He's not having a great year so far. Nothing's going right for the Phillies with a pitcher as good as Sandy Alcantara on the mound versus a guy who thought he was a reliever in Matt Strahm until so many injuries hit the rotation as well. Again, this is the line that you'd expect for Alcantara versus a full-strength Phillies team. I think it's pretty off for Alcantara versus this Phillies team.
All right, Eric. Appreciate it, dude. Thanks, everybody, for watching a Monday edition of The Sweat. We're back here in studio tomorrow morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We will see you then.